Hey guys, welcome back. This is Joel, and in this video, we'll continue our discussion on Aruba SD branch. This is going to be the third video in the series, and we'll be bringing up the VPNCs in this video. We've already done a couple of videos in the series where we did an introduction and then we brought up the branch gateways. We'll be doing the VPNCs, which are like the VPN concentrators, right? So coming back to our topology here. So as you see here, we have already brought up the branch gateway 1. We'll be bringing up VPNC 1 and VPNC 2 in this video. Okay. So let's get to it. First things first, let's go to Aruba Central, right? Let's look at our groups. Right now we have the bits branch group which we created, right? So we will click on this gear icon so that we can create the groups which we want, right? So first we'll create a group called, maybe we'll call it bits and VPNC 1. Or VPNC dash DC1, yeah, that should be fine. Bits dash VPNC dash DC1, right? And we're gonna again select gateways here. We have already done this in the previous video. We're not gonna use template, so we're gonna click next. So here we will have to select Aruba 8, right? Aruba OS 8. And we'll say we're not gonna select branch, we'll select VPN concentrator, right? And click add. Right now, the interesting thing what we'll do here is we did the zero touch provisioning for our branch gateway, but for this device we'll do a different approach, right? We'll use the static activate option for bringing this device or enabling this VPNC to connect to central, right? So for that, what we'll do is we'll come back to our topology here, right? And we'll first make sure that it has the chemo options which we talked about, right? There you go. The chemo options are all good. Make sure that rest everything looks good. 4.1.0, great. And I'm gonna start this node. So the node is starting up now, and we will wait, right? I'll just close this because this is BG Gateway 1. So I will open the VPNC 1. Let's see if it has come up. What's the 32774? Okay. Okay, so I've basically started both the boxes, which is VPNC 1 and VPNC 2. You can see the chemo VMs coming up. So I'll pause the video until the boxes are up. In fact, we'll be working mainly to start with, we'll be working with VPNC 1. So I'll just minimize this, and let's just wait for this guy to come up, right? So I'll pause the video and it'll be back when we are ready to configure. Okay, there you go. So the device has completely come up now, and you can see it's giving an option for us to do the configuration, right? So remember, for BGW1, the branch gateway, we did it in a zero touch provisioning way. Whereas for this VPNC1, what we are doing is we don't have a DHCP server here, right? So we will resort to doing this in a static way, right? There's also some fun stuff I've done with NAT here. I'll explain that in a minute, but first let's go and configure this, right? So it's asking us to, there are different options. So it's just telling us choose one of the options. In fact, there is only one option, so I'm gonna go with VGW. You can just mention VGW, it should be fine. And then it is asking for the VLAN, right? So the VLAN which we are using on, the VLAN which we'll use for the VPNCs will be probably 1090, right? So that's going to be this VLAN here for this segment. Can be any other VLAN as well. You can change based on what design you have. I'm going with 1090. It's asking what is your uplink port, right? In our case, the uplink port is which one? Gigabit 000, correct? Give me a second. Let me check that. Yes, that is correct. So we are using gigabit 0/0/0, which is going to be, let me actually expand this a little bit so that you can see. As you can see, that's the port, right? Which is of interest to us. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it as it is. That's the port. The interface, do you want it to be trunk or access? Access is good. IP address, right? It's asking for the IP address, and this is where I will go with 10.1.51.10, right? So that's going to be the IP address here. Um, that's the IP address, because if you look at the addressing scheme here, right? So it will be 10.1.51.1 on the router side, whereas on the gateway side we'll use .10. Okay, it will ask for the mask is fine. Default gateway will be 10.1.51.1. good. DNS server I'm going to go with 8.8.8. Do you wish to have IPv6? No. And do you want to disable spanning tree? I would say no. And what else? Do you wish to accept the changes? Yes. Right. So now we'll wait for all this configuration to go in, and then the device is going to talk to Central. I also want to show you the NAT part which I have done here. So if you look at the topology here, right, what I'm trying to do here is I want to show you that the IPsec tunnels can or basically your SD branch can work even if the device is behind a NAT gateway, right? So in our case, what we have done is on DC1 internet, right, we are doing NAT, right? So we have the 10.1.51 network here, whereas on the other side we have the 192.168 1.0 network. So what I'm doing is I'm natting all the traffic. I'm doing basically a static I think it will be static NAT, right? So let me show you the configurations. If I show you DC1 internet, you can see there is a static NAT entry. So 10.1.51.10, which is just the IP which we entered for VPNC 1, is natted out to 192.168 1.3. It's a static NAT, but by doing static NAT I can show you that the IPsec tunnels and everything works perfectly fine. So if you have an environment where you are going to put your VPNC behind a NATing device, it would still work, right? So you just like how we did the whole in sd-wan VIPTELA, we had the whole stun mechanism, right? Similar here as well. Things are going to work. If you I've mainly tested it with static NAT, but do check with other forms of NAT if that works as well. But yeah, so this is something which I have done just to explore that if will the system work, will the solution work if my gateway is behind a NAT device. And as you see, the second device, which is the VPNC device, right, has successfully come up. You can look at the this as well. The CLI or whatever, the VNC also shows that it's all good. And you can see on Central, we can see the two number of devices are up now. One is already the BG gateway, and the second device, right, has come up. Now what we can do is we can start configuring the group, right? First let's do some minimal configuration and then move the device to the group, right? So which is the minimal configuration? Let me go to the group bits VPNC DC1. I think I need minimal configuration of actually, you know what, let's move the device. I think we'll do it this way. We'll move the device into the group. So which is going to be the device here? It's going to be this guy, right? The first one. I'm going to select that guy, go here, and I'm going to move the device into the VPNC group, right? There you go. Remember, we created the group at the start of the video. That's the group to which I have moved the device. And let's wait for a few seconds for the device to move successfully. Perfect. As you see, now the device has moved successfully under the VPNC, right? So which means we can now go to the group, click on this gear icon. And like I said in the previous, when we were bringing up the branch gateway, we did not do the guided workflow. For this particular VPNC, let's do the guided workflow, right? So step number 1, let's click on begin. And it's going to ask for the VPNC model. I'm going to say virtual gateway because that's the model, right? It is automatically detecting it. Let's go next. Let's put the NTP servers, right, which we need. Remember, we are doing the configuration at the group level, correct? I'm going to click on the burst mode, select Kolkata here, time zone, and then go next. Okay, then we will specify the DNS servers. So here let's go with the provider Google, right? And that's good. Let's go next. For authentication, let's disable AAA, right? And we'll use admin and Aruba 123. Perfect. And the role is going to be super user role, and we're going to hit the save. Click next. So it's pretty simple, right? They have already created a workflow, so you have all the configurations what we did till now. I'm going to click on finish. Now let's get into the LAN configuration. As you see there, we have finished the system part. Now we are getting into the LAN part. So let's go continue. So on the LAN side, if you see, we need to first create the VLANs, right? So I'm going to click on plus. Let's look at the topology. You see the VLANs here. So the VLANs which will be needed on the LAN side, I think I've not mentioned the VLANs, but we need definitely VLAN 80, which is going to be, I think one of the VLANs here. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but yeah, we need a VLAN 80, which is the corporate VLAN. Then we need VLAN 1090, which we already configured for the, internet transport. Similarly, for the MPLS transport, we'll use VLAN 3100, right? And then, for this guy to connect to the DC1 switch, we'll use a different VLAN, which is VLAN 72. Perfect. So yeah, I think that's mainly, those are the VLANs which we need. You can create any number of VLANs. This is just from for exercise perspective. I'm just creating a few VLANs now. You can even create this at a later stage if you want. So I'm gonna hit the save button. Similarly, let's add a few more VLANs for our MPLS transport, right? Let's create 3100 here. Hit the save button. Let's create the 1090 VLAN for the iNet 1090. Hit the save button, and the last one is your CX, the 72 VLAN, right? So there you go. So those are all the VLANs which we created for this guy. Okay, the next is you need to create the LAN ports, right? So we need to configure the LAN ports. That is, you need to tell the VPNC which ports are going to be used as uplinks, which are going to be the LAN ports, and so on. In our case, as you see here from the topology, the LAN port is 001. So I'm going to use that. So I'm going to click on plus, and we're going to call this, give it a name called as corp. Let's use 001 here. Instead of access, let's make it trunk, right? Let's make it trunk, and the native VLAN can be 1. Allowed VLAN is optional, so let's find. I'm going to click save, so that all the VLANs, the VLANs which we just now created, 80, 72, and all of that is allowed. Okay, so similarly, we need to create 2 more interfaces, correct, for the uplinks. So we will go and create those. So we'll call one of the interfaces MPLS, which will be gigabit 0/2, correct? The MPLS interface is this guy. So, and that's going to be in access, and the VLAN is 3100. I'm going to hit the save. Similarly, let's create the other VLAN, which is your iNet, and the interface is going to be 000, right? Access is the mode, and the VLAN is going to be 1090. Hit the save button. So that's mainly the VLANs, that's mainly the interfaces which we need to configure. There are going to be only 3 interfaces, that is the MPLS, internet, and the corporate VLAN. Perfect. Next is, if you're doing a physical box, then you will probably get more interfaces. In the virtual box, I think the number of interfaces are limited to 4. Right, so that's why you just get going from 00 to 001. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the next button here. So it's going to ask me it's gonna ask if all of this is good. I'm gonna say finish. So once it is done, next is it is going to ask me, do you want to start configuring the sd-wan part, right? Now I want to do that in a very manual approach, right? The routing and the sd-wan, which I want to do it in the next video, so I will not continue here, rather I will hit the cancel button. So that's the good thing about this guided workflow, right? You can use the guided workflow and exit at any point of time. So I'm going to exit it here because I wanted to show you how the guided workflow works, right? So with that, this looks good. The next is the next configuration, we have to do it at the device level. So let's go to the list and let's click on the device. Okay, let's click on device here. And again, it's going to give you this guided workflow even at the device level. I'm going to cancel that because I want to do it using the UI groups. So we are on device, we are on system, correct? We are on general, and here we want to we'll start by putting a loopback interface, right? Remember, we use the concept of system IP pool in case of branch gateway. Here we will use the concept of using loopback address as the system IP, right? So we'll use loopback as 1.1.80.100 maybe. That's going to be my loopback. Hit the save button. Then we will go and put in a host name, right? We need a host name here. So I'm going to go with, so we'll go to basic info, change this to VPNC1-DC1. That's going to be my host name. You can see the username password has been inherited from the group level, which we already configured. Hit the save button again. And one last thing we will do on this page is configure the system IP. We already configured the loopback IP, but we still need to configure the system IP, correct? So let's go to system IP here, and you can see there's a drop down where I can select the loopback IP. So I'm going to hit the save. Gateway will be rebooted on saving changes. Do you want to proceed? Yes. So there you go. That's sometimes, I have seen that the device doesn't reboot actually. It looks like it is not rebooting yet. Which is fine, I guess. Let me see, should I reboot it manually? I think it's fine. We will continue with the configurations and then do a reboot if needed, right? So we will continue with the configuration at the device level now, and we will go to device and go to the basic mode. We are in the advanced mode. Let's go to basic mode. Let's go to the LAN, right? So we are in the LAN, and then here on the LANs, we are on the VLAN section. Remember, these are the VLANs which we already created, right? But we haven't put IP addresses. We just created the VLANs. Now we already created the VLANs at the group level. So at the device level, we are going to go and put the IP addresses. So what are going to be the VLANs, right? So for 72, we'll go with the IP address of 72.1. So the mask is going to be 55.0. This is basically creating SUIs, right? That's it. We already created the VLANs earlier. All we are doing is put the IP addresses. So for the MPLS side, right, we are going to use 10.1.31.2. Again, the subnet is going to be 255, right? And for the last guy, which is VLAN 80, for 80 we will basically use 80.2, and this is going to be the VLAN mask. Okay, so those are the IP addresses: 70.1, 80.2, 31.2, 51.10. Perfect. I think the VLANs, everything is good. Yeah, we'll hit the save button here. Okay, so at this point, right, we have done major configurations on the DC1, almost all the configurations on the DC1. So I would say let's wait for some time and let's see if the configurations are not reflected. Let me just go back here. Gateways. Okay, there you go. I think things are looking much better now. Are they? Yeah. As you see here, the device is here. You can see the system IP is reflected, right? So now let's try to SSH into this box. I think it should work. Let's see if I can go to my VPNC1. Okay, there you go. I can SSH into the box. Let's see if all the configurations are good, right? So let's run command show switches, and you can see the system IP is visible here. You have the host name, the version, and everything visible, right? You can also see the update configuration state says that update successful, which means everything is good. Let's also verify the show Aruba Central details part. As you see, the connection to Aruba Central is up. You can also check show Aruba Central control channel, and you can see it is in the ready state, right? Looks good. Let's also check if the interfaces are up. Show IP interface brief, right? And as you see, you've got your all the interfaces, right? The VLAN 72, 80, 3100 and 1090. All the VLANs, you know, the IP addresses are good. Okay. We can also maybe check show IP domain name, right? So in our case, you can see the domain servers are 8.8 and 8. The Google servers, right? So these are some of the checks which you can verify to make sure that the configurations which you did are all good. Okay, perfect. Now let's come back to the second box. So we have one more box, right? Which is basically this guy. The configuration is almost going to be the simpler one. So if you want to kind of forward at this point, you can do it. But let me go on to the second box, which is this guy, right? Let's do the same steps, which is I'm gonna say VGW, and it is asking for the VLAN. The VLAN for this site is gonna be 2090. The interface I'm gonna continue using gig00 will be the internet interface. Port is access. IP address is 10.1. Sorry, not 1. I think 10.2.51. Let me go and check what is the IP which I've used for the NATing here. One sec. So I think it's the DC2 internet, right? So here you go. One sec. So let's see. I just want to make sure I've used the right IP for the NATing, for the static NAT, because otherwise the NAT will not work. So I've used 10.2.51.10. So I'm going to use 51.10. Perfect. So I'm going to use that 10.2.51.10. Okay. The subnet, sorry, the mask is going to be /24, and then the default gateway 10.2.51.1. Correct. 10.2.51.1. That's going to be the default gateway. What is the default gateway? It is this guy, DC2 router, DC2 internet router. Okay, so and then the DNS server is going to be as usual 8.8.8. No IPv6. Don't disable spanning tree. Accept the changes. Okay. So this will now go in the configuration. It will take some time for the device to then finally show up over here, where we can go to global and the device will start showing up here. Okay. While that is happening, we will go and create our new group. So I will go here, click on the gear icon. Right, let's go and add a group very similar to this guy, right? So I'm gonna click on add. Just change from VPNC DC1 to what? I'll change it to DC2. Select gateways, go next, Aruba 08, VPNC, add. Okay, now we just, I'll pause the video because we need the device to show up over here, right? Right now you see the number of devices online is 2, but we want the number of devices to be 3. The third device should come up and connect onto Central. So we'll wait for that to happen. All right, so looks like the third device has come back up, right? And I followed the same steps, which is you know, this is the device, right? It gets I mean we have put it in 10.2.51.10, right? That's the IP address, and then it is getting natted out over here, right? We are doing static NAT on DC2 internet. That's what we just now verified as well. If you go to DC2 internet, as you see here, 10.2.50. So I'm doing NAT here just to show you that, you know, if you have your you know, VPNC behind a NAT, it is going to still work. Perfect. So coming back to the you know, coming back to the Central, so we have the device here, which means it's time to move the device, right? So let's go to the gear icon. Let's select the device, which is going to be which one? So yeah, this guy, right? So this guy, we are going to select him and move that guy to DC2. Okay, I'm going to move the device. So that will take few seconds. Let's come back once that is done. Okay, as you see in the DC2 group also we have the device now. Perfect. So let's start by configuring the groups. I'm gonna go to the group, click on the gear icon. Let's use this guided workflow begin, right? Select the virtual gateway, click on next. Okay, and here what we do is we will we have to create the we'll have to add the NTP IP address, right? So let's add that. So I'm going to click on plus, select the burst mode. Here let's just put in Kolkata, right? Hit the next button. So that's good, right? And then we will put the DNS servers, which is this guy, right? Which we did in DC1 as well. When it comes to AAA, let's not enable AAA. We'll just do local local admin, local users. So I'm gonna be admin and 3. Similarly 3, and the role is going to be super user role. Save. Go next. And yeah, this is good. Click finish. And go next or continue, right? Because we have to put the VLANs now. So let me look at my notes and see where the VLANs are, right? So yeah, the VLANs here are going to be, let's use the corporate VLAN, which is 82 VLAN, right? Perfect. And no IP address here because we are doing it at the group level. So I'm going to do okay. Similarly, we'll have to put 2 more VLANs. One is the MPLS VLAN, which is 3200. Save. And we'll also have to do the INET VLAN or the internet VLAN, which is the 2090. Remember, we used this while bringing up this device. And hit the next button. Perfect. Now we'll have to configure the LAN ports. I'm going to click plus. For the LAN ports, what we do is we will start by configuring the LAN port, which is the corporate, right, which is 001, and the mode, let's put it in trunk, right? So that yeah, I think let's put it in trunk so that I can connect any other VLANs later behind it, right? That's good. So I'm going to click OK. Similarly, let's go with the other 2 ports, which is going to be MPLS, right? We have 2 uplink ports, correct? So MPLS is on 002 access, and access VLAN will be 3200. Click save. Similarly, let's go with INET, and port is 000, VLAN is 2090. Hit the save button. Click next. Right, so that's good. Similar to how we did last time, I'm gonna hit the finish button here, and we will exit out of the guided workflow because I want to do the routing and the underlay in the next video in a more detailed way rather than using the guided workflow, which is here. Right, so that's good. I'm not going to continue here. I'm gonna hit the cancel, exit out of this. Perfect. So that's good. Now what we'll do is we will go to this option, which is the list option, and go and do certain device level configuration. Looks like this device is offline. Might be because it is going yeah, there you go. I think it is it might have gone offline. Let's see, sometimes that happens. So whenever you have issues like this, make sure you just reboot the device and then it should come back up. So I'll just wait for it to come back up. Let's pause the video. Right, so there you go, the device is up. Technically I did not have to do anything. I just waited for a couple of seconds and the device actually came up or it started showing us online. Okay, let's continue. So we are on the device, so let's click on the device. We are doing the device level configurations now. So let's start with the device and let's wait. Okay, so it's giving me the guided workflow. I'm going to cancel out of it, exit. Okay, so we are on the system, right? Similar process like we did. Let's go to basic, let's go to advanced mode. Let's go to loopback. Let's put a loopback of 1.2.80. Unsaved changes cancel. Yeah. So I'm going to hit the save button here. And then let's put the host name, right, which is going to be VPNC 2 DC2 because it's in the DC2. Hit the save button again. And the last thing is let's go to system IP address and change the IP address to loopback over here, right, and hit the save button. It's gonna tell you it will reboot, but like we saw earlier, it might not reboot, but that's fine. So that's good. You can observe here, is it really rebooting? You know, this is the device, but you see it's not really rebooting, right? But that's fine. We already saw that it's not gonna create a problem for us. Let's go on to configuring the LANs part. Let's go to the basic mode now, right? So we are on the basic mode. Let's go to the LAN. Remember, we have to put the IP addresses on the VLANs, correct? So we are on the VLANs. Let's click on the pencil icon, right? And the IP address here is going to be 10.2.82.2. Put the subnet mask, save. Similarly for 32, 10.2.31.2 and put the subnet mask here. Perfect. So we've got the IPs, you know, for the VLANs on the gateway. So I think that mainly covers everything, right? Let's now go and maybe see if I can, let's go back here. Let's go back to the, okay, I did not, you have unsaved changes, discard, continue. Okay, so let's save the settings. I did not hit the save button. Perfect. So let's now look at, let's actually go back. Okay, so yeah, there you go. Looks like the system IP is reflecting, right? Let's see if I'm able to SSH into this box, which means let's go to VPNC2 and connect. There you go, I can SSH. So let's check some of the things. Show IP interface brief. You can see all the interfaces which we configured are showing up. You know, we can also check some of the, like for example, we have configured the default gateway, right? So if you do show IP route, there you go, it shows up. 10.2.51.1 is showing up. You can see all the VLANs which we configure are showing up as connected routes, right? We can also do show Aruba Central details, and you can see the status is up. You can also do show Aruba, show Aruba Central control plane, right? And you can see even that is ready. Perfect. Maybe one last command, which is show switches, right? Show switches should give us the system IP and all of that device model and all of that information. Over here you can see Aruba gateway configuration is successful, right? So yeah, that is everything we wanted to do with this video, right? Just to recap, let's come back to the topology, right? What we did in this video was we brought up the two VPNCs which we have, right? So obviously we did not go with the zero touch provisioning for this gateways. We went with the static activate, right, where we have to manually bootstrap the device with certain IP address DNS information, and once you put that information, the gateway comes up, talks to the central, and on the central we again created the groups. We created the VLANs and we created the IP addresses for those VLANs, the SVIs basically. We configured the uplink ports, we configured the LAN ports, right? We did the group level configuration, we did the device level configuration. So that is mainly what I wanted to kind of talk in this video. Again, if you have not checked out the previous videos, right, on the introduction as well as how to bring up your branch gateways, I would highly suggest you to have a look at those, and then check this video, because everything would make sense, right? So yeah, thanks a lot for watching this one, and do come back, because in the next video we'll be doing things like routing and policies and all of that, right? So have a good day. Bye bye.